Today's video, I thought I might finish off my bedroom transformation, and the wall behind me, I'm going to be putting up my world scratch map. So I thought it'd be really cool to scratch that off today. So I haven't even unpacked it yet. I'll just quickly do that now. I can't even remember. I did this video once before, but I didn't end up uploading it because I didn't like the quality of the scratch map. And I wanted it to be better. So I can't remember who I originally bought the scratch map from. And if I'm being honest, I don't remember the company that I bought this one from either. But let's open it up, hopefully. Hopefully this one is better. Oh. Here we go. Okay. Ooh. Okay, it looks nice. Okay, this is much better. Alright, it didn't come with anything to actually scratch it with, but it is better. It does have, the first one I didn't have like the states, the United States or the states of Australia. It didn't really have the African countries broken up or anything like that, so this is much more accurate and it's pretty. Okay, I'm gonna hang it up. Show you what I wish I knew. My will is strong with a place to lean. In a moment I hung desperately. The other ring on my wrist is gold, pairing with the light it holds. When I return from my skin and bone, I'm remembering the words you told. Okay, so we're going to start with where I was born. So I was born in Queensland on the Sunshine Coast, which is about an hour north of Brisbane, the capital city of Queensland. And I was born there. We stayed there for about 6 months, and then we moved to the city where I now live, which is the Gold Coast, which is roughly an hour south of Brisbane. So it's about 2 hours south of where I was born. So we're going to cross that off. So basically, in no particular order, like no year order or anything like that, we're gonna go through all the places I've been in my own country, because Australia is roughly the same size as the United States. So I haven't been everywhere in Australia. There's still some cities and some places that I haven't gone that I would love to go to, but I'm going to tell you where I have been. So in Queensland, which is the state that I live in, I've been to Brisbane, Noosa, Hervey Bay, Tin Can Bay, Bundaberg, Mackay, Rockhampton, Townsville and Cairns, and then all the way up to the top of the country, the little tip bit there, all the way up to the top. So, and we've also been to the Great Barrier Reef, which was amazing. In New South Wales, I've been to Byron Bay, Grafton, Coffs Harbour and Sydney. Victoria, I've only ever been to Melbourne City, and we were only there for 4 days, so I feel like there's definitely more to be seen. South Australia, I've never been to. Western Australia, so I have family who live in Perth, and the few times that we have gone over there, we've done a road trip. So I've been from Perth down to Bunbury, Margaret River, Augusta, and Albany, which is all the way at the bottom. Northern Territory, I've only ever been to Ayers Rock, so I've never been to Darwin or anything like that, but I have been out to Ayers Rock, which was a couple of years ago now, and it was brilliant. So cool, so unbelievably magic. The scenery out there is chef's kiss, amazing. And then Tasmania. So Tassie, again, our family are big road trippers. So when we went to Tassie, we did Hobart, Launceston, Freycinet, a whole heap of other places that I can't pronounce. I don't know why, but they have fancy names down there. Okay, so let's start with the first time that I was able to get a stamp in my passport. And that was in 2006. So I was 15 years old the first time that I left the country, and that was after a lot of exploring our own country, because I think that's really important that people do see their own countries before they sort of travel around and all that kind of stuff. So first place that I went overseas was New Zealand. So New Zealand in 2006, I was 15 years old. We went for a work conference, so we took the whole family and we did 3 weeks in a camper van from top to bottom, literally just seeing everything, and it was one of the best trips I've ever been on. It was seriously amazing. When I was 17, second country I went to, actually it was really funny. My grandparents came over for dinner one night and we were all sitting around the table, and all of a sudden Granddad just handed me a plane ticket and I was like, what? And we opened it up and it was for Thailand, and he was like, yep, we're going in 4 days. And I was like, oh, what? This is so cool. I was in my last year of high school. I thought it was so cool because it was good overseas. So yeah, we did Thailand, Singapore and Malaysia in around a 3-week period, 3-week holiday, and we did that with my grandparents, which was really, really amazing. It was a really special family holiday for us, for me and my sister, and we loved it. And in that same year, only a couple months later, my last year of high school was just like, my head of department must have thought that I was just cray-cray for like leaving all this time to go on holidays in the middle of my final year. But I didn't care. I wasn't doing like, I wasn't going to university or anything like that. So, and I'd already got all my credits, so I could have graduated early or whatever. So anyways, that same year in November, we went on a cruise. So we went from Brisbane out to Noumea. So Noumea, and we also went out to Vanuatu, and this was just amazing. I was 17. It was like, we'd already done the Great Barrier Reef, but this was the holiday that really just started my passion for like snorkeling and the reef and like how important it is. And oh my goodness, I'm just so obsessed with like what wildlife, like underwater wildlife. Anyway, that was the trip that started all of that. So we did heaps of snorkeling, heaps of like water activities, and it was amazing. We also in 2012, oh hold on, that was 2009. I did take a break for a little while. We did go in 2012. Was it 2000? Yeah, I think it was 2012. We did the same cruise again. So we went back to Noumea, New Caledonia, Vanuatu, blah, blah, blah. We did that again. And this time I went with 5 of my girlfriends. So that was awesome. The first time I went with my family. The second time we went with 5 of our girlfriends. And it was just awesome. Yeah, I had a bit of a break from traveling for a couple of years. 2013, my sister got married, so there was a wedding to prepare for. And then in 2014, my parents split. And then, you know, 2015 rolled around and I was like, hey, I really need to travel again because I'm going stir crazy, too much is happening, and I just need to get away. So I kind of ran away a little bit. And I moved to Peru in South America, and honestly it was crazy, but I just did it. We planned to do it with me and 3 other girls, so 4 of us all together, and it was going to be we're going purely, the reason we were going was volunteer trip, so for preaching in remote places that didn't, you know, get many people through, so remote areas in Peru. So but basically plans fell through and I ended up going by myself. I lived in Lima for 4 months with a host family who was actually the grandparents of one of my other friends who'd been living over there for about 5 years. And yeah, so I went by myself, and it just really taught 24-year-old me a lot. I think I did a lot of growing up in that first 4 months alone. I had to make friends with people who didn't speak the same language as me. But yeah, I just slowly got immersed in the culture, became obsessed with the food. Oh my goodness, I miss Peruvian food so much. And I just made so many amazing friends that I still have today. And I just feel really blessed for those first 4 months on my own, because I feel like if I had have gone with those other girls, then I probably wouldn't have reached out or like branched out or made as much effort to make friends. So I'm really grateful that I did get to go by myself. And then finally, my friends actually did come over, and after about 4 months being there by myself, they came over and we all met up and we decided to go on a 6-week backpacking trip around South America. Okay, so we went from Lima to Cusco. We did the Inca Trail. Now this is one of my favorite things that I've ever done, biggest accomplishment of my life. It was so amazing. We did the 4-day trek from Cusco to Machu Picchu, up down mountains. Ugh, it was just the coolest experience. We camped along the way, so in tents, up every morning for breakfast. It was the coolest experience. Machu Picchu is one of the most insane places on planet Earth. Like, just when you first get through the sun gate and you're like looking down at the city, and you've just been walking for 4 days and you're tired and you're dirty and you stink and you like want to vomit from the altitude and all that kind of stuff, and then you see the city and everything is just so silent. It's just the most amazing like experience. It's insane. It's so cool. So highly recommend it. I mean, you can always cheat and get the train, but you don't get that experience of like accomplishment if you just get the train. So, but I mean, each to their own. If you're not into the like, it's really hard work. Like it's insanely hard work. So, but yeah, it was amazing. So we did that, and then from Cusco we went to Puno on the shores of Lake Titicaca, and we crossed Lake Titicaca and we went to Uyuni in Bolivia. So across the lake is Bolivia. We went to Uyuni, the salt flats. We spent 4 days on the salt flats, driving across them in 4-wheel drives and stopping at each night in a different like part of the salt flat, and that was insane to see the scenery change from day to day. Again, another amazing experience. From there we caught a bus we actually paid someone to drive us back across the border from Chile to Argentina, and we caught a bus to Salta, and from Salta we flew to Patagonia. Now Patagonia, holy macaroni and cheese Batman, because it is like the most insanely beautiful untouched wilderness on the planet, and the hiking was just amazing. We hiked in El Chalten. We also we did some glacier trekking. Torres del Paine. Oh, just the most amazing scenery you've ever imagined. Like, experiencing these little small towns and things like that. These like little tiny towns that would take you like half an hour to walk from one end to the other. Like, yeah, welcome to El Chalten. To walk from that welcome sign to like, or where all the treks begin at the other end of the town, was literally not even a 20-minute walk. That was cool. From there we went to Buenos Aires in Argentina. 10 days in Buenos Aires, seeing sights and meeting new people, and again, that was really awesome. And from Buenos Aires we went up to Foz de Iguazu. So that is basically where Uruguay, Brazil and Argentina all meet, and they meet in this one area, and there's lots of waterfalls there. So we went to the waterfalls, and let me tell you, it's like the closest to the ideology of paradise. It's the closest that I've ever experienced in my whole life. It was like just waterfalls and jungle and like beautiful animals everywhere and butterflies, and it was just so beautiful. Then from there we went to Sao Paulo, and we spent 2 days in Sao Paulo. We got on a bus from Sao Paulo to Rio, and we spent 10 days in Rio de Janeiro, and we just did absolutely nothing. We went to markets, we went to the beach every single day, we went to clubs at night, and we danced, and then not like doof nightclubs, like clubs with like a band that were playing like Brazilian like music. I don't know what they call it over there. It's not, they're not salsa, but I don't know what they are, but amazing music. We did the sights, we saw the Big Jesus, we saw I can't remember what it's called, Christ the Redeemer, yeah, the Big Jesus. We did the gardens, we went to all the beaches. It was so cool, like, yeah, it was awesome. We had so much food, the food was amazing, the alcohol was cheap. We went shopping, we had acai bowls every day for breakfast. It was just like the best week ever. We had a bit of crap weather, but that didn't even like, we didn't even care. I think we had one rainy day, and on that rainy day we went and saw Star Wars, which was weird. Like watching Star Wars with like Portuguese subtitles, it was strange. Anyway, but yeah, it was good. So yeah, it was awesome. And then that was sadly where we went all our separate ways. So my friend Brooke went home to Australia. My friend Jamie, who's also named Jamie, she went to the States, she went to New York, and I went back to Peru. So I still had a couple months in Peru that I was committed to staying, so I went back to Peru. I stayed in Peru for 1 more month with a lady who put me up, which was good. And then I decided, hey, I'm heading to the States anyway, so I called up Trey, who was in our group. He left us in Argentina, so he left us a little bit early. I called his mom and I was like, hey, my accommodation has fell through, do you mind if I come and stay with you guys for a while? And she was like, yes, amazing, come and stay. So I got on a plane from Lima and I flew to Dallas, and then from Dallas I flew to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta I flew to Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas, and I stayed in Arkansas for 6 weeks, I think it was, with them, and it was really good. I was meeting up with a friend from Australia. So I did a road trip from Northwest Arkansas, and we went through Arkansas, Oklahoma, Mexico City, Arizona, and then I ended up in California in Los Angeles, which is where I met up with Brittany. So she flew into Los Angeles, we got an Airbnb there, we stayed there for a week where we did Disneyland and Universal, and then from there we went to Las Vegas and we spent 4 days in Vegas. Now I had met people in Peru who had come down to Peru from Vegas, so I met them in Peru, and then I was like, hey, we're coming to the States, can we come meet up with you in Vegas? And they were like, yes. And I got a deal on the Flamingo, which hadn't been updated yet. That all the hotels on the strip were slowly getting renovated, and it hadn't been updated yet. So I got a room for $45 a night. So we stayed there for 4 nights. Cost us diddly squat. Cost us less to stay there than it would have to stay in a hostel, and it was really nice. And we just did the strip. We did a show. We met up with friends, we had dinner, we went to Serendipity and had ice cream. It was really cool. We went from Vegas, we went over to Washington DC, where we hit up the Smithsonian and all the museums and the national monuments. We were there for 4 days. It was freezing, it was snowing. Again, we didn't know what to do with ourselves. We were so freaking cold. But yeah, again, it was really cool. And then from Washington DC we went up to New York. So we stayed in New York for 10 days. the weather was kind of rubbish. So it was either snowing all day or raining all day, and we were freezing. We didn't get to Central Park because it was just too wet, but we went to a Broadway show, which was awesome. We did Times Square, we did the Met Museum. We did that 2 days because we loved it so much. Like, the Met is probably my favorite place on planet Earth. It's insane. What else did we do? We did Staten Island, we went out on the ferry, we did Brooklyn. We just had the greatest time. New York was like, until recently, New York was my favorite city on planet Earth. It was insane. I loved New York. And then from New York we went to Toronto. So we flew to Toronto, we flew to Buffalo. No, we drove to Buffalo and we flew from Buffalo to Toronto, and we spent 2 weeks in Toronto with friends. And yeah, we had a great time. We went to Niagara Falls. What else did we do? We just basically, it was the end of our trip. We were a little bit tired. It was just before I was about to come back from Australia. So at this point I'd been traveling for about 8.5 months. So I was really tired. So we just took it easy. It was snowing, it was freezing. It was about 16 below zero, so minus 16 degrees. So yeah, we were cold. And then so from there, I don't know what happened. I think Brittany, I can't remember because we didn't come home on the same plane. So I'm pretty sure Brittany flew home earlier. And then I flew to Vancouver, and then I came home from Vancouver. And that was the end of that 2015-2016 trip. Yeah, and pretty much after that I was so exhausted, like so exhausted. So I went back to work. I had quite a few years off. And then so 2018, in February 2018, I went to Bali. So Bali with, no, 2017 was Bali. Take it back. Yeah, so I went to Bali with some friends. A friend of mine was getting married. So we went as a group of 12 girls for her kind of like hen's weekend. We went for 5 days. And yeah, we just basically tore up Bali. We stayed in a villa. It was beautiful. We were near the beach. We went to, you know, Potato Head, and we went to the lawn in Canggu, and we just basically lazed around the pool, drank lots of bintang, and yeah, like had a massage before bed every night. It was just the best 5 days ever. Cheapest 5 days ever. Like, I think the whole thing, including my flights, cost me 500 bucks Australian. And we just like went to town. And then 2019, last year, was my first trip to Japan, and Tokyo. I was there for 2.5 weeks, nearly 3 weeks, so it was nowhere near long enough. I just wanted to see friends, but Tokyo basically knocked New York City off the list of my favorite cities on the planet. It was unbelievably insane. I would move there in a heartbeat, and I really want to go back. I feel like as soon as COVID is basically, the planet's back to normal again and everyone's borders reopen, Japan is, I'm just making a beeline for Japan because 2 weeks wasn't enough. I need like more. I need more. So yeah, it was the greatest. And that being said, like, it was the greatest. And while I was over there, we actually had one of the worst monsoons that they'd had in years, like 40 years or something like that. So I nearly didn't make it out of Tokyo. I nearly didn't make it because the train stations were literally underwater. Like, if I had stayed like even a couple of hours longer, the train stations would have been closed and I would not have been able to get out of Tokyo to Osaka, and I was flying out of Osaka, so it would have been big dramas. So I was lucky. I was insanely lucky, and we lived through it because the storm actually was traveling north as I was traveling south. So when I got to Osaka, the worst of the storm was hitting Tokyo, where I had just left, and it was pretty bad for Tokyo. But for Osaka, it was just like a big windy rainstorm, so it wasn't too bad. So I was blessed. blessed again. So many if I told you all the near misses that we had traveling over the last 15 years, there are some sketchy ass, like, some stories that I could tell you, believe me. But yeah, recently that was my experience. And then that brings us to where we are now. COVID. So I got back in October. COVID was a thing in January, and then obviously everyone's borders were shut down. It was considered a pandemic in March, and so therefore I haven't traveled. That's it. I haven't been traveling. I had to cancel a trip to Cairns because Australia shut down all flights to communities with well, more remote communities, and also communities with high Indigenous population, which was very thoughtful. It was very good. So yeah, they've only just reopened travel up in the last same month. So we're now in July. They started this month, they reopened the borders, and they also allowed us to travel more than 150 k's from our home. So yeah, I had to reschedule that trip, but in saying that, I have a big road trip planned in September. So starting from the 8th of September until the first week in October, so almost the whole month. I'm going to be going from Byron Bay up to the Whitsundays, so I will definitely be making videos about that. It's one of the most beautiful stretches of coastline, and it's home. It's the home of the Great Barrier Reef. All the towns that I'll be stepping into, they have some kind of reef experience that you can go from. So there's going to be lots of reef, lots of swimming, lots of island experiences. Yeah, lots of firsts for me, because even though I've lived in Queensland my whole life, there's quite a few of the islands off the coast that I've never visited before, so I'm gonna hit all of them up. And yeah, so you'll have to stay tuned for those videos because it is happening. And the other cool thing that's happening is I'm currently in the process of turning my 2018 Kia Rio into a micro camper. So this whole trip that I'm planning, I will be sleeping or decking out the car so that I can sleep and cook in it. So yeah, there's some cool travel videos to come, but yeah, COVID's basically put a bit of a slowdown on that. So, but yeah, definitely got some big plans for the rest of the year. So you'll have to keep watching. So hopefully you enjoyed scratching off my map today with me. I did. I had lots of fun remembering all my cool travel experiences. It's definitely inspired me to write a new list of places that I haven't been before that I really want to scratch off. So yeah, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe so that you can see more videos, and that would be amazing. So until the next video, I will see you soon. Bye.
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cut my teeth. I can take what I need to get by. It doesn't make it easy. The other piece of my heart moves slow, somewhere in the great unknown. When I return from the afterglow, will you carry me like I am whole again?